Hello, everybody. How are you all? This is me again, Fabi from Fabi English. Okay, so I'd like to say to everyone, welcome to another Exploring IELTS with Fabi. Okay, and this is a special edition. All right. This is just an edition to get you ready for the workshop IELTS Booster. I don't know if you heard about it. Okay, the IELTS Booster is an event. It's 100% online, free, and it's going to happen on the 15th of October, all right, at 9 a.m. Brisbane time. It's about 6 p.m. on the Friday at in North and South America, okay? And in this workshop, I will tell you everything you need to know to get the score you need on the IELTS test. And of course, do it only once, okay? So if you want to take part into this amazing event, just go ahead and if you are on YouTube or Facebook, click on the link below, all right? And if you are on Instagram, just go to the bio, okay? And the link will be there and you can join, okay? So the lives here, okay, Exploring IELTS with Fabi. We discuss strategies that will help you get the score you need on the IELTS test, okay, and do it only once. My name is Fabi. I'm an English teacher. I teach at universities and colleges here in Brisbane, and I live in Brisbane, and I do what I like to do, okay, what I do all the time is help people get the score they need on the IELTS test, okay. So the live today will be about reading, okay, so if you have any questions about reading, go ahead and pop them in here, okay. But the main topic today is actually going to be how to make the IELTS reading shorter. All right. So we're not going to talk about little tricks and things that you can do. It's more about how can we analyze the text in a different way and a few things that we can do so you guys can get the score. Okay, you need... and maybe making the reading shorter, it's a great idea. All right, okay. So when I say make the text shorter, I mean basically focusing on what's important, okay? Because just imagine, right? I think I told you I'm teaching IELTS at one of the schools where I work at the moment. And at the school, the first time these people saw the IELTS was 2 weeks ago. And they're used to doing text in English, reading text. They will do the text, they will answer questions. But the first time I showed them the full text, they were a bit scared. They were like, what? This long? And they freaked out a little bit. Okay, and it's normal. Okay, guys, don't get me wrong. You can freak out, okay, if you see, because it is a long text, right? So what, 2 pages in the end. So it is a little bit freaky, okay? And especially for the people, if you're doing the academic test, not so much, because then you have 3 long texts. So you're not that surprised. Maybe the first time you saw it, you were. Not so much the second and third time. But if you're doing the general one, if you're doing IELTS general, the reading part can be tricky because I don't know if you know, but when it comes to IELTS general and IELTS academic, okay, one of the differences is the reading part. All right. So in the reading part, the thing is with the academic, 3 long texts, 3 academic texts. In the general part, it's more about 2 shorter texts, then another 2 shorter texts, and a very long one. Okay, so just imagine the people who are doing IELTS general, okay? They have section 1, 2 texts, the text about less than a page. They were okay with it. Then section 2, 2 longer texts, still 1 page, and then they go to passage 3, actually section 3, and they go, what? 2 pages for 1 text, and you have to go ahead and answer them. Okay, so the reason I wanted to talk about making the text shorter is because I know how people freak out when they see the size of the text. Okay, but today I'm not going to talk about speed reading, okay? It's not how you're going to make the text shorter, okay? Actually, one strategy that I've been using with my students forever is highlighting the text. Okay, guys, you'd be surprised at how effective this resource is, okay? But again, guys, every tip I give you, okay, that you can practice at home, you can also use during the test. Okay, so that's another thing. I don't know if you know, but you can do the IELTS on the computer now. And then you say, Fabi, you're telling me to highlight things, but I'm going to do the test on the computer. How am I going to do that? Guess what? You can highlight it. It's fine. You can do it. Okay, basically. So if you're doing the IELTS test on the computer, okay, you can select the text, right click, and you give you some options. And one of the options is to highlight. Okay, so what I'm going to tell you today, guys, will help you with your practice. And then on the day of the exam, you can do the same thing again, right? Because that's why we practice. Okay, we practice so we can go ahead and we can perform well on the day of the test. And probably by doing what we have been doing. Okie dokie. So let's have a look. So highlighting. The first problem people have with highlighting, okay, guys, it's usually the fact that people say it wastes time. Okay. I completely disagree with that. Okay. Maybe the first time you try highlighting can be a bit of a problem just because you don't know how to do it. So maybe it'll take you a bit longer. But if you start practicing, okay, you'll be fine. Believe me. Okay. So some people think it might take longer just because you have to highlight, right? So you're reading and they say, oh, you have to skim, you have to read quickly, and then you have to highlight, okay? So I don't think that the actual highlighting will take a long time, honestly, okay? But then what will save you time is when you go back to the text, okay? But I'll talk about that later. First, let's talk about what do you have to highlight, okay? Because some people say, okay, Fabi, you're telling me to highlight, but come on, what do I highlight, right? That's a big, big question that a lot of people ask me. So when it comes to the highlighting, okay, guys, you have to highlight the key things, okay, the keywords. But then when I say that to people, oh, you have to highlight the key ideas, the keywords, what people say is, how do I know what is the key thing? What is the keyword? I don't know. So I tend to say to my students, okay, I think you guys should be highlighting in the text, okay? What you should be highlighting in the text is whatever will help you remember the information in that specific paragraph. That's it. Okay? So when you're doing the IELTS reading, okay, and you start reading, you read the first paragraph, or as you read the first paragraph, okay, the best thing to do is to go ahead and highlight what you think is important. What you think, not what your friend thinks, what your teacher thinks. Now, you highlight what you think is important, okay? Because then when you highlight that, you will remember what information was in that paragraph. Okay, so that's the first thing you should do. So you go, you highlight, and then you start reading, and you keep reading, okay? Then when you go to the questions, right, you probably remember what you highlighted. And when you remember what you highlighted, you know what the information is. So let's say that in the first part there was a question about, I don't know, butterflies. And there was one specific thing about butterflies that you thought was interesting. And then you go to the question and you see that, oh, butterflies and that thing. So you know where to go. Okay? So that's one thing that you have to keep in mind. Okay? So the first thing is, what do you highlight? You highlight what you think is important. You highlight what will help you remember what the information in that specific paragraph is. That's how you make your choices. All right? Okay, so that's the first thing. So how do you make a text shorter? And I'll tell you why it's shorter, okay, in a second, okay? So how do you make the text shorter? You go ahead and you highlight it. But what do I highlight? You highlight the things that will help you remember what the topic is about. That's what you're going to highlight. And then you might be wondering now, okay, Fabi, but how is the text shorter when I highlight? The thing is, guys, so to me, okay, in my opinion, everyone who's doing the IELTS test, the reading part, you guys should read the text first and then go to the questions. That's my personal opinion, okay? I have helped a lot of people, and that's what works for most people, okay? So you go there and you highlight, you read the text first and highlight whatever you think is important, whatever will help you remember what's in the paragraph. And then you go to the questions. So when you go to that question, when you go back to the text, you don't have to read the text again. You just go where you highlighted. That's how you make the text shorter, okay? So basically, guys, you focus on what you highlighted. Okay, so that's what I've been telling a lot of people. That's what I do myself if I have to read something, okay? And this strategy has helped so many people, okay? Again, maybe the first time you do it can be a little bit tricky. Okay, maybe it'll take a little bit longer. So that's why we practice for the exam, right, guys? So maybe try that, okay? So just go ahead and read the text first. Highlight whatever you think is important. Highlight whatever is going to help you remember what the topic is for that specific paragraph. And then when you go to the questions, you go back. And then you will see everything that you highlighted. And you pay attention to that. Okay, just go ahead and pay attention to that. All right. But making the decision that you are going to highlight your text, it's a big decision. Let me tell you why, guys. So when you decide to highlight your text, you have to trust your highlighting. You have no idea of how many people highlight things, but they don't believe their own highlighting. Okay, there's lots of people when I say to them, oh, okay, guys, you highlight the text. And they say, yes, I did. And then it's funny because sometimes people highlighted really good stuff, but they completely ignored it because they think they don't know how to. Okay, so if you make the decision of starting to use this strategy, focus on your highlighting, okay? Trust what you highlighted, because when you trust it, you can really use it, all right? And again, another thing, don't go on highlighting all the words you don't know. They're not going to help you, okay? Try to highlight, maybe sometimes you will highlight words you don't know just because you think they're important, but don't go highlighting only words you don't know, because when you go back to the text, that will only be things you don't know, all right? So be careful with that, okay? So the most important thing to me is also then, if you decide to highlight, trust your highlighting, okay? Because you will be surprised at how often you will highlight the answer. I'm not kidding, guys. I'm being really serious right now. I had a lot of students, and when they start highlighting, when they start paying attention to that skill and start doing it, they just go and okay, I think this is the answer, and they choose it, and then they check, and yes. And people who don't trust their highlighting, sometimes they highlight the answer, but they think, oh no, it's not important, I'll choose something else. And they end up choosing the wrong answer just because they don't trust their highlighting. Okay, so again, I think everyone should be highlighting the reading test. Okay, that's my personal opinion. But if you really decide to do it, make the commitment to trust what you are doing. Because sometimes you highlight and then you ignore it. And in the end, it was something very, very good that you didn't do. Okay? Okay, so let's recap a little bit. So how to make the text shorter, you can highlight. And how come is highlighting going to make the text shorter? Because when you go back to the text, you will focus on what you highlighted, and you don't highlight everything, do you? You will highlight some key things, and then you just go straight to those key things, and that will help you find the information. Okay, so you find the information and look at the question. Oh yeah, so the information I need is here. have a look and choose your answer. Okay, guys. So yeah, so that's extremely important. Okay, so highlighting will definitely make your text shorter. Okay, and then yeah, so I already told you, so you'll be quite surprised at how, okay, how you will highlight the right answers. Okay, one thing I like to do with my students, every time we finish a reading test, we go ahead and we highlight the answers. Even if you got the answers wrong or right, it doesn't matter. It's always good to go back to the text and find them. Okay, and what I do sometimes, actually I did that a lot with my academic English class a few weeks ago. And what we did was I told them to go ahead and so they had to highlight, okay, whatever they wanted to do. And then I told them to highlight the answers with a different color pen. All right. And then I had a student, I think she highlighted everything in yellow. And then I think she used blue to highlight the answers, and some things were green. And I said, what do you have 3 colors? I suggested only 2. And she said, well, green is actually when I highlighted in blue over the yellow. And I was like, why are you doing that? She said, yeah, because that's what I highlighted. So I highlighted it. And then I highlighted it because I thought it was a good idea to highlight that. But then it was actually the answer. And then I highlighted on top of it. And it's green. So I know that everything in my text that is in green was actually the highlighting that I did that was correct. I was like, oh my God, it's such a good idea. I didn't think about that. So yeah, but again, and she had a lot of green. So she really trusted her highlighting. And then after discussing in class, and then yeah, it's pretty good, guys. So maybe you can try that too. Yes, so I think, yeah, so check this out. I have tons of highlighters. Okay, yeah. So maybe if you try maybe yellow and then you go with blue on top, it will be green. And then you know exactly the things that you highlighted that were really helpful. Okay, guys, so that's something we can try to do. Okay, and please, if you do try that, leave it in the comments. Okay, yeah, I like working with colors. I think it's pretty cool. Okay, really, really helpful, and especially if you're a visual person like I am. Okay, yeah, so that was the first surprise. Okay, the second surprise that yeah, a lot of people, I always share that with all my students, guys, and you should try this. Pretty cool, actually. Did you notice that most answers in the reading part are in the beginning of the paragraph? Yeah. Start noticing that, okay, guys? So if you're studying for the IELTS exam, please spend some time analyzing the text, okay, looking at what you got wrong, looking at what you got right, okay, and you will see that the answers are usually in the beginning, okay? Sometimes you will get that odd text, okay, where the answer will be all over the place, yeah? So I did some practice with some students, and then we noticed that, and then the week later we did a text and it was all over the place. So it wasn't really right. It's not 100% rule, okay? But the answer will usually be in the beginning of the paragraph, okay? The reason is because usually we will have the topic sentence, right? So in the same way that we talk about topic sentences when we are writing, okay? When we are reading, it's the same thing. So the first and second sentence of a paragraph, they're quite important because they will tell you what the paragraph is about, okay? So when we're talking about skimming and reading quickly, a lot of people will tell you, hey, if you want to read fast, just read the first sentence of each paragraph. Okay, and that can work, okay? It depends on how you read, I think. For me, it works quite well. I personally like to read the first, middle, and end. That's what I do personally. But you can practice and see what works for you. But it is true. So if you start highlighting, make sure you do a bit of highlighting, especially in the first and second sentence of the paragraph, okay? Because that's where the main information is. Of course, if you're looking for more specific things, maybe you'll be in the middle of the paragraph, but just highlighting the beginning and knowing what topic is there, okay, that's extremely helpful. Okay, guys, you will see like improve heaps, yeah. And again, guys, if you try to use it, if you try to use this strategy, all right, if you feel that the first time you try, it takes a bit longer, don't worry, okay? Don't worry about it, because it will get better, okay? It will be easier. And remember, like I said before, guys, if you go thinking like that, okay, if I highlight, I'm gonna make the text shorter. That's really helpful. And then it's something that you can do on the day of the test. Okay, so really, really think about that, okay? So, something you can do now, okay? So you know, I like to give you a little bit of advice towards the end, okay? And something you can do right now to improve, okay? So why don't you, one thing you can do, first thing is, why don't you get a reading test that you finished recently? Okay, do one that you finished recently, and just go ahead and look for the answers and highlight the answers in the real text, in the text. Okay, and again, guys, sorry if you have the electronic version of tests and everything, you can also highlight. You can use some PDF readers, or you can have it on Microsoft Word. Okay, guys, even on the computer you can do it. Okay, but if you feel like it's better to print it, you can do it too. Okay. So yeah, so just go to a text that you've done recently, okay, and just go ahead and highlight the answers. And you see, wow, the answers are usually the beginning. Or no, these ones are all over the place. Fabi's crazy. No, guys, I'm not saying that it's always like this. Usually the first and second passage, yes, the last passage, especially for the academic one, it can be all over the place, okay, and in general sometimes, okay, but you'll be surprised, guys, you'll be surprised, like crazy, it's mind-blowing when you notice that. You're lucky I'm telling you now, okay? So try that, okay? Or if you have a test, a new test that you haven't done yet, just go ahead and try it, okay? And do some highlighting, okay? Just choose your favorite color, okay? And don't be scared when it comes to what to highlight, okay? I just think that you should be highlighting whatever is going to help you remember what a topic is, because that's why we are reading the text first in the first place, right? We're actually reading it just so we know what it is about. Okay, we are not gonna read to get every single piece of information. We're gonna read it as a whole, okay, just to get what the topic is and where information is, okay? So you're not trying to learn everything the first time you read it, okay? And then you go ahead and then you highlight a few things, and then you just go and answer your questions, all right? So when you highlight, remember, you are making the text shorter, and that's my top strategy for the reading, okay, guys? Highlight your text to make the text smaller. All right, okay. I didn't receive any questions today. If you have any questions, you can pop them in there. Okay, I usually get some questions. Actually, this was actually a kind of a request because I have a lot of people struggling with length, okay, how long the text is, okay, especially for the people who are trying IELTS academic. Okay, that can be a big issue. And remember, guys, so again, when you're highlighting, you might think it's gonna take you a while to highlight, all right, but it just takes a while in the beginning. After a while, you get used to it and you'll be able to highlight things very quickly, okay? But just remember, once everything is highlighted, you go to the question and you go back to the text, just focus on what you have highlighted. Okay, but please, if you're going to start highlighting, make this commitment to yourself to trust what you highlighted, because believe me, you might be actually highlighting the answers, okay? And that's gonna be so helpful. That's gonna really improve your score. Yeah, I do feel that after people master the highlighting process, they get an amazing score. They improve like 1 point. It's pretty cool. All right, okay, so that's me for today, okay? There will be more lives happening, okay? Keep an eye on my YouTube channel, keep an eye on Instagram. There'll be lots and lots of things happening. And again, if you want to join the IELTS Booster Workshop, click on the link below here on YouTube and Facebook, and click on the link on the bio on Instagram. All right, so that's me, okay, for today. If you have any questions, you can DM me, okay, or send me an email at fabi@fabienglish.com.